Hi, I am Elaine, and it's really nice to have you here with me. I call myself the psychic because I help psychics with their abilities to understand them better, to learn how to use them, to be more in tune with what's going on with you, and in general, just kind of give guidance around how to best integrate these gifts into your life and to see them as gifts, not just as a hindrance or as something awful that you have to deal with. And one of the things that I would actually like to talk about is, in particular, being an empath and how that's sort of a gateway to a lot of other abilities. When we're empaths, we tend to have a sense of how someone else is feeling. And this can be one-on-one, it can be in a group, and it can even be the whole collective of the planet that you could be sensing. It just depends on what you choose to tune into and what you're aware of too. Because sometimes it's your awareness that directs this energy into where you can use it to your advantage in a lot of ways, to be honest. Even before I was really aware of what this was, I was using it. This ability to know what other people are feeling is a pretty powerful one. It can be so advantageous to be able to, say, go into a job interview, and if you can feel how that other person is feeling towards you, it gives you an indicator of what kinds of things you might need to say to somebody in order for their energy to shift in your favor, right? Because if they're not feeling too happy about you being there, or maybe not too excited about your skill set, you're going to know. And that can be it can be advantageous for sure. It can also help you in other situations. You know, if you're having an argument with somebody and you're sensing their emotions around some subject that you're discussing, it can be helpful to actually help win them over if you know how they're feeling. If you're sensing that somebody is simply annoyed or frustrated, that's very different than someone who's full on angry, right? It's a very different thing. And when you can sense those emotions, it is huge to be able to affect your environment. And let's be clear too, as an empath, you are not just feeling somebody's feelings, you are also transmuting them. And what I mean by that is you're helping to change a person's energy to wake it up, help them come into a more conscious state of awareness about who they are and what their true self really is. So this is a powerful skill. And I would say maybe not all empaths do this necessarily, but I would say a lot of empaths do. And because we are actively, or even unaware of the fact that we are actively helping to transmute energy around us, that can often result in us coming home from, say, a day's work feeling absolutely tapped out, just exhausted, because you've been moving a lot of energy all day long, maybe unconsciously, and not understanding why it is that just sitting at your desk all day is making you so tired. It's because you're moving energy all day, and that can be a very exhausting experience, especially if you're doing it without being aware of you're doing it. And it's important, I think, to understand that if you become aware of the fact that you're transmuting energy, you can actually choose, number one, where that energy comes from, and it shouldn't be you. And number two, how to direct the flow of that energy and choose it actively instead of just having it happen throughout your day. So I want to talk about this aspect of being an empath, that it is important, firstly, to start your day by giving your energy guidance about how to be used throughout the day, that it shouldn't just be given away without your permission. And what I mean by that is when you wake up in the morning, it's important to maybe, first of all, try the shielding that I have a video of, how to shield your energy. And then also maybe trying out these different ways to word things for yourself around how you talk to yourself. So firstly, you want to shield your own energy from being stolen from you throughout the day, because whether you realize it or not, a person in need of healing, excuse me, is potentially going to come along in your field and like, knock, 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 ask for something, because you are a healer. As an empath, you're healing energy. And when that person who needs healing comes into your field, if you're not actively working to prevent somebody from just stealing your energy without your permission or knowledge, then they're going to quantum entangle with you in a moment. And then because they're asking, your energy is going to give whatever that person needs. Maybe you don't mind that. Maybe it's okay and you're not exhausted by it. Some people actually get energy from this process, and that's a type of empath that's a little different than, I would say, what most empaths are. Because there are empaths who are very social and they get energy from being around people, especially large groups. So it really depends on the kind of empath you are. But a lot of empaths tend to be introverted and quiet and tend not to prefer to be around large groups of people. And you might be that type of empath where you might be feeling tapped out at the end of a day. And this would be why. It's because every person who comes into your field of, your energy field, and depending on how powerful your energy is, your field can fill a room, or it can be as small as just a couple of feet around you. It just depends. And it can also depend on how you're feeling in a moment. But if you are having this experience, it's important to understand that this is what happens. You connect with another person's energy, and then your fields kind of mingle, and then they ask for something unconsciously, and you unconsciously answer with your energy. It's not a thing that most people are aware of. We just do it automatically because we are energetic beings. But if you do want to be more aware of it, I suggest that you start your day with thinking about saying something along the lines of, my energy belongs to me. I am the sovereign creator of my experience. My energy can only be released with my conscious permission. Right? Conscious permission. That way, people can't come along and quantum entangle with you and be taking from your energy without you being aware of it. The other piece of that puzzle is also to be conscious and aware of the fact that your energy actually flows from the source of all creation, from the universe. Whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it God, go ahead. It doesn't matter. You are actively reminding yourself every single day that your energy is coming from there, because otherwise, when you unconsciously interact with somebody energetically, you could be having energy taken from you without your knowledge, and it's coming from you, not from this universal source that we should have flowing through us every single day. So this is why I start my morning every single day with this sort of energetic intention that no one is going to just come in and take my energy without my knowledge, because that is exhausting. It doesn't mean that I'm not transmuting energy anyway, because I do, and I choose to, but you can also do the same thing. You can choose to transmute energy throughout your day, or you can, and allow that to just automatically happen. And it may automatically happen anyway, because you might have an unconscious contract, I guess you could say. People love to call it a contract, but I don't know if that's really the right word. But we have this unconscious agreement before we come in that that's something we're just going to do. Maybe that's you, but it could also be that you're just having whatever experience that you're having in a moment, and you're not thinking about it, and then your energy is being, used by someone else without you knowing. So I think it's a good idea to always keep that in mind throughout your day, is that you have to actively put things in place to make sure your energy's not being stolen or used without your knowledge. Okay, so we know that's true. It also is true that when you are an empath, if you are transmuting energy and you're not doing it in a way that, again, is using universal energy instead of your own personal energy, and that again could also be why you'd be tired. If that's happening, you may often struggle with digestive issues, particularly IBS. That is a big one. You could end up with ulcers, you could end up with colitis, you could end up with Crohn's, colon cancer. These are all things that have a tendency to erupt out of this constant transmutation of energy, because essentially what you're doing, again, if you're doing this unconsciously, is you're taking up another person's energy through your body, you're moving it through your own body as though digesting it in a way, in order to shift it out of a negative space and become into, turn into something more positive and healing for that person. You're helping to maybe move negative energy out and replace it with positive. And that could also result in a lot of other things happening, but I'll talk about that in a second. But what is happening is that because you're moving this energy through your body and not through universal energy, it will absolutely affect your digestive tract. It does do that because you're moving it through your body systems in a way that does affect you that way. So be aware of that. And if you're a person who tends to have a lot of digestive issues, that could be why. I'm not saying that's the reason. If you do have digestive issues, it just could be a reason. Okay, so that's something to think about. And you might want to try, again, guiding your energy more intentionally so that you're not just doing this unconsciously all day. But to get into what all this could result in, there's a lot of things that can happen when you're moving energy through your own body. For instance, some of that energy can stick with you and drag you down and make you feel tired. It can make you feel emotions that are negative and that aren't yours. And it can feel like yours and you might not even realize that it isn't. Again, if you're not really very conscious about it. So you do have to get conscious if you want this energy to not be affecting you. And you have to, again, intentionally choose what energy you're choosing to move and recognize that it isn't yours, that it's simply moving through your field in order to release it and letting it go. And it doesn't stick to you and it's just gone afterwards. It's really important to remember to do things like that. And occasionally, it's important to also maybe clear your energy using some selenite maybe. That's a powerful one. Another one is smoky quartz, which is excellent for moving negative energy out particularly. It draws the energy right out of your body. And I would just maybe hold it right in your hand, or if you get like a selenite wand, you can use it to wave it over your energy field and it can release all that negative energy just with your intention. And even without your intention, it'll probably do it anyways. I actually sleep with selenite under my pillow because I feel better in the morning when I do that. I feel like it keeps my energy field clearer. And it also helps clear it while I'm sleeping so that whatever might be happening while I'm asleep, it's not affecting me. It's, my energy won't be affected. That's a powerful stone though. If you have not used selenite, I highly recommend it. It is a very good stone, particularly for empaths who really do take on a lot. I'm trying to remember what it was, what other thing I was going to go back to, and it's not coming to me right now. There are a lot of things about being an empath that I feel like we don't necessarily talk about enough. And again, it really boils down to being intentional with your energy and making sure that you're taking very good care of yourself physically too. When you're moving a lot of energy, which probably you are at this time, because it's a powerful, powerful time to be alive. And there's so much need for healing right now. I mean, that's really being asked of us heavily. If you're having a lot of exhaustion right now, there's such a lot of energy that's moving through us right now. And I feel like a lot of us who are empathic are really doing the heavy lifting where that's concerned, and it's undoubtedly affecting a lot of us. So just be aware of it and take your rest where you need to. Make sure you're getting the rest that you need if you really are feeling exhausted, and also make sure you get enough time to yourself. Like, you really do need time to yourself. If you have little kids, even then you still need to do that. Like, when my kids were little, I used to set a timer for them. And it started out with like a little 15-minute timer. Like, okay, for 15 minutes, Mom is just going to sit right here at this table and read a book. And while I do that, you guys have to stay busy. So whatever you need before I set this timer, you better tell me now. If you need to go to the bathroom, if you need a drink, if you need a snack, you better tell me now. Because after that timer gets turned on, I am not doing anything for anybody for those 15 minutes. And this is when my kids were like toddler age. But they got it. You know, at first they didn't understand, but when I was very serious about it, they understood. Oh, timer didn't go off yet. Can't bug Mom. And then it turned into a half hour, and they were, they didn't nap, so I would give them something to do. Either they were engaged with books, or I gave them a show to watch, or I gave them something that would keep them busy for that time period. Sometimes I would just ask them to go in their rooms for like a half an hour or something and just play for a while quietly. And they were good about it. They understood after a while that this was not only just time for me, too. It was time for them. And that way, when you are an empath, you have to do these kinds of things where you have to take a time out from everybody. And you just have to do something for you. Maybe it's meditating. Maybe it's just sitting and reading a book. Maybe it's having a cup of tea and looking out the window at the sunset, whatever that looks like for you, listening to some music and dancing for a little bit, maybe doing some painting. I don't know what your thing is. Play some music, whatever. Just make it for you, and it has to be something rejuvenating that gives you rest and a sense of calm. Because that's what you really need. If you're an empath, you need to do those things for yourself, because you will feel better when you do those things. If you're not doing those things to center yourself, you're going to feel scattered. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to even maybe feel angry. You might even start fantasizing about doing things to people that you really don't want to do, but you're like, you need to get away from them so much that you're just not consciously recognizing it. And it could give you these like really deep feelings of like desperate need for self-care. And you don't want to get to that place. Like, that's not a good place to be. So if you are in that place, please take care of yourself. Take a bath in some salt water, go swim in a lake, in the ocean, like go out in nature, give yourself a break. Like, you really need it. Okay, so this is really super important that you take good care of yourself if you're an empath. It really is necessary. We all have to do these little things for ourselves, and we have to tune in. We have to tune into who we are, too. And the shielding video that I put up, that was, I think, the first one that I did. If you go to that video, it walks you through this process of how to care for your energy in a way that protects it from others' energy kind of barging in on you. And it becomes a practice, if you do it every single morning, that can really help you regain a sense of self. Because often I feel when you're an empath, it's hard to know who you really are, because you're so engaged with other people's energy, and it becomes so normal to just feel everything around you that sometimes, especially if you live in a household with a lot of people, like, how do you even know what your own energy is? It gets confusing. And it's important to be able to know that you have a sense of self, and that you know who you are, and you know how you feel, and you know what your own emotional state would be in a given situation. And that way, when you're in a situation of any kind, you can recognize, oh, that's not how I would normally react. Why am I feeling this weird kind of way? It helps when you have your sense of self established because, again, if you have spent your whole life not knowing anything about this and you've just been feeling everyone's feelings and, that's like, this is caretaker 101. Like, this is what we do. We feel everybody's feelings and then we want to go and fix it. It's like this weird built-in, I don't know, like, and then it affects your lack of your ability to feel self-worth. It creates a lot of other imbalances when we don't caretake our own energy and when we don't caretake ourselves enough to, again, recognize your own feelings. You really do need to spend time alone every single day and protect your energy so that you're not just sharing all the time, because we shouldn't be doing that. That's not your job. It's not your job to fix people. It really isn't. Like, you can choose to do that, and that's great. I do that, but it also is important to recognize that it isn't required of you. Everybody needs to take care of their own energy, truthfully. But sometimes we can see the benefit of a person who may clearly be asking without really asking. They're doing it unconsciously. But we can tell that their energy is asking for something. And if we sense that that person might really benefit and we know that it might really be good for them, great. Transmute the energy. That's awesome. But it doesn't always, and sometimes you might even get like a phrase in your head, that you feel like you need to say to them that would help them or something. That happens a lot too with empaths, or we'll suddenly get this intuitive knowledge of something that we need to say to help move their energy along, that will give them a different mindset. Awesome. If that feels right to you, then do it. But if you hear or feel these things and it doesn't feel like you don't want to, then don't do it, please. If you're tapped out already and you're getting intuitive signals, that doesn't mean you have to act on them. You're a sovereign being. So be a sovereign being. Make your choices. You do not have to say yes to healing all the time. You do not have to say yes to even the universe when it may ask something of you, because you're a sovereign being. You get to choose. This is your life path. You are creating it. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. And if you're feeling particularly exhausted, I would say that's not a good time to be doing anything for anyone. You need to do something for you then. When you're tired, when you're tapped out, when you're angry, when you're frustrated, when you're anxious, or anything else, depressed, whatever, that isn't the time to give. It just isn't. That's where your body is saying, hey, honey, can you take care of me? Would you give me a little bath or feed me a really nice home-cooked meal or just let me go lay in the hammock for a while? You got to be nice to yourself. And you deserve to be as nice to yourself as you are to other people, because if you're an empath, you're probably really nice to people. Not all empaths are, but you probably are, because, again, we tend to be caretakers. That's what a lot of us end up being. And we often end up people-pleasing. We say yes when we really mean no. We often get trapped in relationships with people who are very self-focused because somehow the imbalance in them calls to us deeply, and we feel a deep desire to heal what is so out of balance because, we are very tapped into the collective, and we know that we are all one. But when some people are really out of alignment with themselves, there's that deep desire to heal that. But that's not required of you. They need to do their own work. And it's not your problem if they're out of alignment. That isn't your fault. They did it. And just because you can see the potential in someone and you know that they have a better side to them that's available if they chose it, doesn't mean you need to do anything. And let me just make a word of caution here, is that this is really, it's important to remember that some people will come across with like a sense of, I am this great person inside and I have all this potential available to me, and there are so many great things that I could be doing with myself if I did them, if I chose those. But when you continue to see that a person in that state is not choosing the better path and continuing to maybe blame people around them for the way they feel, for all the bad things that are happening to them, and they aren't taking responsibility for themselves and their own energy, that's a toxic relationship that empaths often get trapped in. And I would say that is not something you should be doing to yourself. If you're in a relationship with someone like that, I would say it's time to do some writing. Do a little journaling and start asking yourself some hard questions about why you're still doing that to yourself, because it's not necessary. And it isn't your fault that that person is that way, and you certainly aren't responsible for fixing them. That is their job. They need to do that work themselves, and it's important that they learn how. So if you have been stuck that way, maybe take a step back and start figuring out why. It's a lot to be an empath these days, honestly, and I'm hoping that this energy is this recent energy shift. Like if you didn't feel it on the 20th, I don't know. I hope that you're feeling it soon, because I felt a big shift of energy after this eclipse stuff went on. And I know a lot of people are kind of still feeling that eclipse energy, because it really was a lot. There was a lot of moving of energy that happened, and I feel like there were some things that opened up. And I don't know if you felt those things or not, but I certainly did. There's a lot moving and changing and shifting right now. So hopefully some of this energy will get a little bit lighter. We'll see. But it's definitely interesting how the eclipse affected things, because an eclipse is always going to bring out the shadow, and it's always going to call for more healing and call for things to be integrated and to release the negative things that may be holding you back. So if you felt that, congratulations that you released some things. I hope that's what happened for you. And if you didn't, and you're still kind of in a chaotic state, then this is an opportunity for you to look at what might be holding you back. What traumas might have happened to you that you're still holding on to that still need to be integrated. Because if you had a lot of calamities, if you had a lot of negative things happen, if you were really having a hard time with this eclipse, there are things that you're probably working through. So it's definitely important to take a look at that. I feel like this is already kind of a really long video, so I feel like I'm going to stop it here, and I'm sure I'll get back to talking more about being an empath in another video. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about with empaths and how it really is kind of a gateway. That was something I was going to talk about, isn't it? Yeah, I was going to say that being an empath is kind of like a gateway to a lot of other things. It usually is like the foundational ability that will happen when you are also maybe deeply psychic in other ways. So you might be a seer, you might be a healer of physical issues with people, like maybe you do Reiki or you're good with quantum touch. You might also be you might be a people person too, actually. It really could be a thing that you really are very social. That really does happen. There are empaths out there who just love to be social, and they just love to be around people all the time. And that's definitely a gift, the kind of person who heals emotional energy in that way. It's huge. And if you are that kind of empath, I envy you, because I definitely am not that kind of empath. I'm the type who's the introvert, so I don't know. It's definitely different for me. But it is a gateway, though. It leads to other things, It can lead to mediumship, because if you speak to beings beyond the veil, empath is huge on that. Like, you kind of really need that skill in order to speak to the other side. You kind of really need that skill to be able to see the future in a way. You kind of really need the skill of empathy to heal specifically. That's a big one. So there are a lot of things that lead from being an empath. And as a skill set, it begins with connecting with another person's energy. And in order to see other things, you really kind of need to be able to do that. So it's an interesting skill set. And it can be, again, extraordinarily beneficial if you want to use it for your own benefit. It really is amazing how you can step into some place and know what people are feeling around you and be able to do something about it. Whether it's talking to a person in a certain way because you know they're having a rough day and you want to help them out, or if it's, because you feel like you're in a job interview and you know that maybe that person's not too psyched about your skill set yet, but maybe you can talk them into it because you can feel their energy and you can kind of move it a little bit, There's great things about being an empath that I think really are a wonderful skill set to have. And I feel fortunate to have this as a skill. I've used it my whole life and I have benefited from it immensely, even when I wasn't aware of the fact that I was doing that. It's still benefited me. And I really think that if you are willing to look at it as an opportunity and not a drawback, you can have an amazing experience as an empath. To be able to open yourself in this very special way is really a gift. I especially, again, if you are consciously choosing to transmute energy, it's a powerful gift to have, and it's exactly what we need right now. The world needs to transmute energy, and if you are actively doing it and choosing to do it, thank you, because we need that right now. So if you are an empath, maybe that would be a way to expend your energy, is to help the world transmute their negative energy and experiences in order to heal and to be able to become more of their true selves, because that's where we're trying to go. We're all trying to be authentic and be our best selves, and I think an empath is definitely needed right now, really. So with that, I think I'll leave it here. I know I didn't really get too much into how it's a gateway, but maybe that's for another time. I feel like, again, I've been trying to struggle with I'm having a hard time thinking through things right now, and I feel like, again, it's just the energy at the moment, and it's harder for me to access my thinking in a way that's normal for me. So I think I still need to do some integrating, but it's definitely been interesting trying to teach with this energy doing what it's doing right now. But that's okay. It's just an experience, and we'll get through it, all of us together. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.